Welcome to Gold Star Classroom, the podcast where our panelists go back to school. We'll grade them on their answers to a variety of general knowledge and trivia questions. They don't know what we're going to ask, and we don't know what they're going to say. The student with the highest grade at the end of the class will win the coveted classroom prize, the Golden Banana. I'm your host and headmaster, Professor Jerry Jaffe. And now, let's meet our students. On my far left is Cleveland-based actor and artist Brandon Stroud.
Adding to the stock of available reality.
Thank you, Brandon. And on my left is Assistant Professor of Biology at Lake Erie College, Dr. Deborah Schulman.
I'm pretty well focused on the existing reality.
Thank you. And on my right is Professor of Digital Media at Lake Erie College, Professor Stephen Gutierrez.
Thank
Hello,
you.
Steve.
Hello.
Welcome to class.
Thank you.
Welcome, students.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
We're going to begin today's class with a history question. American Civil War.
Okay, bad
I
start
wasn't
for me.
there.
Well,
Why?
none of us were, but your grade may depend on your answer,
Okay.
so pay close attention. Here is a name from history. Wilmer McLean.
Nope.
Any bites? Raise your hand. Just let me know if you have an answer or a guess.
I mean,
Wilmer
it
McLean.
sounds like it could be a cottage cheese, like a company name of a cottage cheese.
I'm thinking
That I
of
might have
Wilbur
had.
the pig. I don't think that's right.
Lincoln's pig, maybe.
Well, Wilmer McLean is a very interesting and strange position in the history of the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
He was present at the first Battle of Bull Run, and he was present at the signing of the surrender of the South.
Mm-hmm.
His house was, in fact, located where the battlefield was for the Battle of Bull Run.
So was he actually participating in this activity, or they just had a war around his house?
They had a war around his house. He was actually a retired officer in the Virginia militia, but he was already in his 40s, so he was not required to fight.
So he just stayed in his house and watched the war happen?
Yes,
and he could sign his name.
And he could
too.
sign his name thing. Well, that's part of what happened at the end of the war. But in the first battle, a cannonball went down his chimney. Confederate troops were stationing themselves in his house, and there was ongoing skirmishes during that July 1861, and so that him and a lot of the other residents of that region eventually moved. So he moved.
As well they would.
You'd think.
That's a bad neighborhood.
It's not a good neighborhood if you have cannonballs coming down
Who
your...
documented this? Did he write about this?
Well, I don't know what he himself wrote, although there is a famous quote which is attributed to him. And I was tempted to start with this quote, but here is what McLean is supposed to have said. The war began in my front yard and ended in my front parlor.
He might be talking about marriage, possibly. I've never been married, but
It fits.
It fits. We can confirm that.
I question the truth of the. I mean, Mel Gibson Patriot movie, the war was happening in his front yard, and I'm certain that didn't happen with the redcoats. So, I'm calling false on this. I don't know if I buy into it.
Well,
Was that an option? We can call false?
I'm questioning reality. That was my
Oh,
opening
questioning
statement. I'm adding to the stock of available
reality.
Well, you
reality.
won't be able to question the reality of your grade at the end of this test.
I'll always question it.
Grades are black and white, my friend. Some evidence that substantiates the story is that after the signing ceremony was over, the Army of the Potomac began taking tables, chairs, and furnishings out of his house as souvenirs because they knew that it would be historically important
And what
items.
did he have to say about that?
Nothing. He couldn't stop them.
So here's this dude in his house, and now it's been pillaged?
It is being
It's for
pillaged.
the Antique Roadshow.
The table on which Grant had drafted the document was paid $20 in gold by the soldier who took it.
Oh, so I think it's paid for it.
Yes. The table that the Lee had signed the surrender on, a General Ord paid $40 and then just took the table.
That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of
Back
money
then,
in 1860s currency. I don't know how much. Anybody know
lot.
how much? It is a lot.
More than 40.
Yes.
Yeah.
At least
Add a couple zeros.
42, 44, something like that. Historians, when they're trying to figure out the value of owed money, compare it to staples, like how much does a loaf of bread cost, or things like that.
Yes, but people have been saying it was a nickel for
Yes.
forever. So where does the nickel loaf of bread start and end?
And we don't know, because how big is a loaf of bread?
That is another excellent question.
That's very philosophical. Probably too philosophical for us.
This sounds staged now. That the people who came in to attack had planned this to resell the items that they destroyed.
They staged the entire Civil War
Possibly.
just to generate antiques.
I hadn't thought about
That
it until
is
now,
a
but
completely screwed up
I'm
reality,
really-
my friend.
I feel
I
pretty
like
confident
that
about
answer
that.
so much, it deserves a gold star.
thank you. All right.
We have our
I
first
just got
gold
here.
star.
I would have to disagree because I saw the movie, and in the movie it looked real. People were really dying.
One last piece of trivia about this event is that also present at the signing was George Custer, not yet a general himself.
This is before his last stand.
Yes, this was before
You know
his
why
last
I know
stand.
about that?
Why do you know about it?
When I was a kid, there was a restaurant called Custard's Last Stand.
Ouch!
It was an ice cream shop. Well, custard.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's why I know about that.
Was the custard better than the pun?
Well,
Was their
yes.
business better than whatever he went through?
Hey, people liked it.
After the war, McLean worked for the IRS until his death in 1876.
Oh, see, so he could handle the money that
Yes.
he.
He was actually forced to leave his house where the surrender took place because he couldn't afford the mortgage payments later. So however much $40 is worth, it wasn't enough to pay off his house.
I wouldn't even want to pay off my house.
I
if it's-
didn't know there was mortgages
destroyed.
in those days. I suppose that makes sense.
Oh, the IRS is timeless as death, right?
Yes.
And taxes.
Next subject. Get ready. Have you ever heard the expression, hoist with his own petard?
I have, and my husband and I have debated about this endlessly.
See?
Interestingly, both he and I came to the same incorrect conclusion about what it means. I'll let you continue, but I do in fact know what it means.
Well, anyone else in the class think they know what it
no
means?
idea.
No.
Have you ever heard that saying
I have
before?
not. No,
You
I have
haven't?
not.
Oh, my father used to say it all the time.
It strikes me as a moderately common expression. Maybe it's not as common as
It
I
is.
thought.
Both my husband and I are fully aware of it, and both incorrectly understood it.
Maybe my mom said it in Spanish and I didn't get it.
Darn non-native English speakers. What do you think it means? Hoist with your own petard, or petard. It can be pronounced either way.
I'm going to reserve the real answer and wait. See, what I thought it meant.
What did you think it-
before I found out
What
what
did
it
you
meant?
used to think it meant?
I thought a petard was some sort of a garment that sort of went over the shoulders, sort of looks like a jock strap,
Right.
and goes over the shoulders and to get picked up by it and then sort of lifted by one's crotch. This is 100% wrong.
Well, I mean, I think.
I'm glad you
it's-
didn't enter it as your answer, because you would have lost a lot of points on the test for that answer.
But like getting stuck by an item of your clothing and getting a big wedgie.
Like, yeah, an old-fashioned wedgie. No.
It sounds like it would be an Urban Dictionary that comment as a possible maneuver or something. Maybe something you would do alone to your own.
It sounds like it's something about doing it with your own strength, but perhaps I'm wrong.
Well, no, I'm on the same.
Oh, okay.
Well, this saying has something in common with another saying. Let me tell you another saying. You've probably heard a saying like this before. Not a mouse stirring.
No, this one I don't know.
That hoist with your own petard and not a mouse stirring have something in common.
Christmas Carol?
No, though that's a good guess. If you
That's
ever-
all the creatures. No creatures were stirring,
Got
not
it.
even a mouse.
Yeah.
But it is the first thing I thought of when you said that.
You probably know this saying then. Frailty, thy name is woman.
I think I'm offended by that one.
Yes, and so you should be. I'm a little bit
I could
offended.
agree with it, but I don't know. I don't know that I've heard it in those
I know some pretty frail men.
terms.
All three, and I am one of those frail men, actually.
Sensitive.
All three of those sayings have something in common.
See, now you lost me.
Have I lost you? I'll give you one more clue.
All right.
To thine own self be true. Have you ever heard that saying?
Yes.
Getting
Yes.
closer.
Yes, maybe. No. Do thine own self be true?
Are we doing Shakespeare?
We are going in the right direction. All 4 of those sayings have something to do with Shakespeare.
Fantastic.
You are correct.
Now I'm ashamed.
That's
You introduced me as an actor, and I don't know.
Yes. They are all Shakespeare.
yes. That's true,
Are
but
they all from the same work? Because this I'm not going to be able to do.
all right. I'm going to start listing quotes and you tell me what play it's from.
Oh, no.
Oh man.
Brevity is the soul of wit.
That's from.
I'm going to always say Hamlet, and eventually
Correct.
I'll be
Oh,
right.
You get a gold star.
Oh man.
All of these quotes are from the play Hamlet.
Oh, okay.
See, but you told me the answer, so I want a gold star.
Yes!
Because I knew it.
No,
Even though I didn't say
no
it.
gold star for you. You were cheating. You might have to go to the penalty box for 5 minutes. To the principal's office. Hamlet is of the many things Hamlet is famous for. It is famous as a repository of proverbs that it generated. There are literally dozens and dozens of sayings that come from Hamlet. Some of them are probably more popular than others, but nonetheless, you would be hard-pressed to find one play or one work of literature that has generated so many proverbs. Let me shout out just a few of the more famous ones, and if you have any comments or questions, lay them on me. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Brevity is the soul of wit. The play's the thing. Get thee to a nunnery.
People like that one.
Yes. Of course, in your English lit class, they might ask, what does the word nunnery mean?
Is it not the place where they keep nuns?
The word nunnery can mean the place where you keep nuns, but
Asylum?
asylum as in political asylum, as in a medieval model, you
No,
are
it's not
supposed to be
mental-
able to go to
mental.
mental asylum. I've never heard it used that way,
Okay.
but it is, in an Elizabethan context, sometimes used as a slang expression for another place that's chock full of women.
Oh. See,
In polite,
somebody probably taught me that, and I wasn't listening.
well, polite society, we might say a bordello. But then what your Shakespearean scholars will argue about is whether or not Shakespeare meant get thee to a nunnery, as in a monastery
type
full of
thing.
nuns, or if he meant get thee to a bordello, as in a whorehouse full of women of ill repute. So both of those are for debate. It's not the kind of thing there's a
Not in my
conclusive answer
circles
to.
of friends. It's not debated.
to. What do your circle of friends say?
Well, no, they're not. They're not debating Shakespeare.
Well, stick with us.
Well, yes,
That's what goes on
minus
here.
5 points until you get a better group of friends.
yes, yes.
Well, I actually think both of those situations involve way too many women all in one space. So I'm comparing and contrasting a nunnery and a bordello in my head, and I don't want to be in either.
Right. I wouldn't want
That's
to be in either
too many women
in one place.
in one place.
You know, when you work in a restaurant, the women argue all day long.
Yeah, women are terrible.
I'm just glad I didn't say
You want
that.
this on record?
I do.
One of the most often misquoted lines from Hamlet is the "Alas, poor Yorick" line. For some reason, people want to say, "Alas, poor Yorick, I knew him well,"
Horatio.
but it should be "I knew him Horatio" without the word "well." I don't know if there was like a film version or a comedic version, or I don't know where that speaking comes from, but
I'll
it's
go
a
with
common.
Monty Python.
Think Monty Python's
For the win.
responsible? Well, I'll have to grade that exam when I get home.
The changing of that word definitely makes all the difference for me for the punchline landing.
Also, when I'm teaching Shakespeare in class, I always like to point out that he's full of dirty jokes, which most students don't appreciate. The entire play, Measure for Measure, is nothing but one long dirty joke. But
That was another one.
in Hamlet, thank you.
I got it.
Did you measure the length of my dirty joke?
I did.
Thank you.
It was not very long.
No, it was not. That's why I prefer the metric system. At one point in Hamlet, Hamlet says to Ophelia, do you think I meant country matters?
Matters.
And this is meant as a dirty joke.
There's some emphasis there, connecting
Oh,
One
some of
syllable,
the- yeah.
yes, to a raunchy implication.
that word was already invented?
Indeed.
Huh.
There's a lot of words, dirty words that have already been
Did
invented.
it
by
come
this-
from that, perchance?
I don't think so, but I would love to double check that to be 100% certain. And also with Shakespeare, you get, of course, all the words that he coined are invented himself. But in that mix are words that he's the first recorded use of. And we can never really be sure which falls into which category. But we do know that he had the largest vocabulary of any writer in English and used the most different words and invented the most new words of any single writer.
Do you believe that Shakespeare was actually an old dude that wrote a million plays, or a series of people, including one hypothesis I've heard that it was a Jewish woman?
I do not believe it was a Jewish woman.
I heard that.
Right? I've never heard that particular
He was a
conspiracy
shapeshifter,
theory.
He's I've mentioned this before. You wouldn't want to, you can't trust him, probably. You probably couldn't trust him. You wouldn't want to play Scrabble with him, because he would invent words. Also, if he is an old Jewish woman, I'm guessing the only accurate picture of him is of that illusion of the pretty girl, old woman picture. That could be either or, I've always thought.
We know...
Question. I know that women couldn't act.
Correct.
So could women write plays at that time?
There are no known examples of surviving plays written by women from that time. We don't know in the realm of closet drama if there might have been amateur female writers whose work did not surface.
Look this up. I didn't make this up.
I will have to look this up. There are many, many sort of conspiracy theories of who Shakespeare might have been.
I mean, he may have written some of it.
Well...
or he may be a pen name for a huge consortium of people.
There has probably, in the English language anyway, in the Western world anyway, not been a single person who has been studied more than Shakespeare. So
you'd think we'd know.
Well, and so therefore we do. You'd think we'd know, and we do know, that A, Shakespeare really existed, B, he was a real theater person, C, he was a real writer, and D, he almost certainly wrote most, if not all, of the plays attributed to him. If anything, the opposite is true, which is there are probably plays that he wrote that we've lost, and some may be rediscovered. His total output is not a large number. 37 maybe, 38 plays.
It's more than I've written.
It is more than I have written as well.
Okay.
But professional playwrights in Shakespeare's era, who that was their full-time job, wrote hundreds of plays.
I saw Shakespeare in Love. That was a good movie.
Yes.
That was a lovely movie. It was about as accurate as...
Well, I don't want to know.
He didn't write that one.
Yes.
He didn't write that one?
That wasn't a
No,
autobiographical.
He didn't write that. He did not write Shakespeare in Love, no.
Oh.
Not a biopic.
Although Tom Stoppard did, and he won an Academy Award for writing it, so we're happy about that.
Well, I didn't
He's
know
equally
any
as
of
confusing.
Before we move on, I want to return, and if you want to go ahead and try and tell us what you think Hoist with his own petard means. We haven't actually settled our original question.
that. Oh, it's a weapon, and one blows oneself up with one's own weapon.
It's a Elizabethan era explosive device, like what we might consider a crude bomb now. And there was a danger of blowing yourself up with it, both when you placed it, but also it was known to have a big backlash when it exploded. So you did not want to be near it when it exploded.
Hoist
And
is what will happen to you.
which is to go up into the air.
It is not a jockstrap with suspenders.
It is
all.
not some kind of Elizabethan wedgie.
That's what I thought. I really did. But I looked it up.
Very nice.
Well, I looked up Shakespeare, and I found out that he married Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, correct. Shakespeare's married to Anne Hathaway.
Yes, that's
pretty
true.
cool.
That's true. Yeah.
And, which resulted in The Notebook.
Yep.
And a love story across the generations.
Yes.
Google's handy.
I have a biology question
Yes.
that relates to the answer is a basic number ratio, but it is from a book. If you have an answer or a guess,
I've read a book.
did you read any book which estimates the average number of inseminations per pregnancy?
Average number of inseminations per pregnancy.
Yes.
You mean number of times ejaculation occurs inside the female reproductive tract before?
Correct.
Actually, I have.
What number do you have, or do you want to let them guess first?
Oh, have at it. I don't know if I will have the same number as
Right.
you because I have absolutely no idea how they've calculated this.
Correct.
But I read it and I have taught about it in human reproduction classes, actually.
Well, someone told me the answer.
Uh-oh, so we're down to Brandon.
Oh, man.
What do you got, Brandon? Remember, your whole grade may ride on what you say next.
Yikes. When was this poll taken?
This is the book I am referencing is a relatively
Question is,
recent
how many times
book.
was the poll taken?
Yes. I'm stalling though. Oh man.
Oh, just pick a number.
Yes.
Well, I would say. Oh God.
I know. Because if you're the father of a teenage daughter, you want the answer. You'll tell your daughter the answer is 1, because you only have to do it once to get pregnant.
Actually, the number in my mind is actually the number of fertilization. Excuse me, the number of active fertilizations per implantation.
All right, that is a more
eggs-
technical way.
Eggs are fertilized substantially more often than they actually implant.
Okay, I suspect that this figure was not calculated using that specific definition.
Oh, well, that's the number I'm prepared to provide, so I'm going to get an F.
Yeah. Jesus, I don't even.
Well, take a guess. If you're put on the spot, how many times do you have to do it before a girl gets pregnant?
Oh, I would say. How about 16?
All right, 16.
50.
50?
Which is not the number I was going to provide before, but
But that would be your answer put on the spot.
that is that's my answer for the question as you posed.
Okay. What's the answer for the question as you posed it?
1 in 7.
1 in 7?
1 in 7 fertilized eggs actually implants.
I gather the book I got this number out of is somewhat controversial, so I'm going to say the name of the book. So if you'd like to endorse or contradict this book, please do.
I will probably
Have you
not
ever
have an
seen
opinion.
Robin Baker's book Sperm Wars?
I have heard of that,
Okay.
not read it.
I have read it, and this is not a book review section. But it is the source of my statistic.
Mm-hmm.
According to Robin Baker, there's an average of 500 inseminations per pregnancy.
What kind of sluts are we talking about?
The good kind, apparently.
Yeah.
Whoa!
That's
Let's not let that number get out.
no
As you said, teenage girls need to understand one.
one.
Exactly one.
I agree. This might be
Well,
a
it does sound like a lot. So
That
I
sounds
don't
like
know
a lot.
right. Well, if it sounds like a lot, Mr. Baker also estimates that the typically sexually active adult has penetrative sex approximately how many times in their life? This is globally, without regard to culture.
Or
In their life? And now I have to do math.
No, just gut check. Just shout a number
No,
out.
we can't do that.
Gut
okay.
check.
All right. Average, I would say.
Having sex for 60 years, 70 years.
Yeah. I'm gonna go 5,000.
All right. We have a number for 5,000. You going over or under that?
I'm going to go with more than that. I'm going to go with 6,000.
Mr. Baker estimates
2,000 to 3,000.
between 2,000 and 3,000 times.
Oh, see, now
Oh.
you had me thinking that people were a lot more busy with the 1 in 500 thing.
Yeah, it might be depressing to me, but
Probably if...
And
if-
wait, we didn't define sex. Is this Bill Clinton sex?
Well,
Everybody's definition of sex?
The Baker uses the phrase in this statistic penetrative sex.
Oh, okay.
So I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
genital
very
to genital.
Specific.
Get
He
the
doesn't
opportunity.
specify that, although
yes,
he does talk
yes,
about
I
it
know
later
what
in
the
the book.
average,
All
but
right.
yes, if he would have specified the difference, I still wouldn't have had a good answer probably. But
Yeah,
That's-
that's what threw me off. That's why I didn't.
Right.
yeah, that's what it was. Oh, what orphan? Oh, okay. It was a different mattress.
It wasn't total sex acts.
16
Cherry
mattress,
pies.
Yes.
14 cherry pies,
If you're
$30 dolls. Yeah,
backseat of a car.
yeah.
Yes. You gotta totally figure that out. He also, I mean,
Thanks for that
I'll email
education.
him.
he does. I mean, I believe he estimates that it's typical to have 6 to 7 children.
Amongst whom?
I think the way he phrases it is, it's unusual to have more than 7 children. That the majority of families globally have less than 7 children.
Yes.
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 Just trying to think this book is a little old.
I'm starting to think he's.
It's not a brand new book, but it's not that old either. I would have to look up the year to tell you, but I'd say 90s probably.
He's definitely a scientist. That's
1890s.
18. An Amish.
Yes.
Well, speaking of genitals, I came across some other unusual.
Oh my
Oh, wait,
goodness
wait.
gracious! Whoa!
No pausing.
Try a different segue.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of segues,
Okay.
have you ever
We
heard
jumped on there.
the slang phrase Hoochie coochie.
I've used it.
Yeah, okay.
I didn't say I...
Young Mr. Brandon, having used it, what did you think it meant?
Well, no, I mean, this is going to be weird if it's not. No, I do poetry, and I love sound poetry. I've come across that combination, and I've done it for a baby. If
Right.
you know, hoochie coochie coo. Now we're not talking coochie
That's
coochie.
coochie.
Not.
Hoochie coochie is for a baby. Hoochie
hoochie
coochie is
coochie-
something else completely.
I can tell you what a hoochie coochie.
What
Yeah,
is a hoochie coochie?
well,
it
I
goes
don't
back to
know
our last-
for sure, but
that's why we made the segue perfect.
Yeah.
I mean that was. Yeah, red light district. That's in that direction.
It is in that direction, but not quite. It's actually, you're like a block off. It's not quite in that direction. You need to turn off in a
It's
surprising...
not sex?
It does not originally refer to sex, no.
The wad of cash in which a prostitute
Ooh.
has her wad, her coochie.
An interesting guess, but no. It is from early 20th century jazz music, and it is a type of dance. And
that one does when one has crabs.
no, not specifically crabs. It is.
Not limit ourselves.
It has been described as a kind of belly dance. So it's sort of a mid-drift gyration dance that women would do in an erotic manner.
Okay.
But now it means sex. Am I wrong?
Does it mean sex to you?
I thought it did.
No,
Hoochie
it
coochie?
doesn't sound
No.
like
Something I said
sex.
to a
It doesn't
baby
mean sex.
2 minutes ago.
No,
Sound-
I was saying like, oh, they were doing some hoochie coochie. That doesn't mean they were
A
having.
woman of ill repute.
Oh,
Because a hoochie mama means something very specific.
that's true.
well, a hoochie
And a coochie means something very specific.
in jazz lingo, as in the song Minnie the Moocher, a woman who does this dance would have been called a hoochie coocher. And to go with what I was implying and Brandon was implying, the Gucci part of the word is probably derived from 1800s slang for the woman's genitalia.
well, then.
So that word
Oh,
itself
yes, the hoochie. Yes, yes.
predates calling this
What a
dance
fun era.
the hoochie coochie.
Well, if they were to look at our terminology now, they would be equally as impressed. But
People misuse our current terminology.
Even though it's not current as in 2013, maybe it still is, a more modern dance is the pogo. Do you know what the pogo is?
I feel like you jump up and down.
You nailed it. Gold star
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you.
Hooray!
It's a kind of mosh pit style dance where you stand and bounce up and down. It has been claimed, although these things probably can't be verified in popular culture, that there's a specific person who invented the pogo.
Mr. Pogo.
That is a good guess too.
Yes, Michael
Not gold star worthy, but very nice.
Yeah.
Mrs. Pogo.
No, but she begged him to stop doing it. She begged him.
no, that was the jackhammer. Also.
We'll just carry on as if you hadn't said that. Any ideas on who invented the pogo dance?
What time period are we talking, or we didn't?
More recent than
More recent.
jazz. I'll give you a clue.
Sid Vicious.
Correct.
Really?
Sid Vicious. Gold star. Plus 10 points
How'd
on your
you know
exam.
that?
I'm a genius.
There
You are
go.
a genius.
I was a punk rock girl, truth be told.
All right, students. That brings us to the end of this class period. But before I release you,
Woo!
there you go. Before you go, sit down. Put your book back on the
man.
table.
School is fun.
School is fun. I'm going to add up everyone's grade and award somebody with the coveted Golden Banana Classroom Prize.
Okay.
But
All right.
while I'm doing the math, I just wanted to give each of you a chance to say one more thing, whatever's on your mind, or just you can tell your teacher, this is your classroom evaluation. Tell your teacher how much you love him.
Well, I definitely want to confirm to you, Steve, Lincoln was not a documentary. Just to clear that up for you, he seemed.
I don't believe you.
Well, I also don't think the Civil War
How
was
is this
real.
kissing up to the teacher?
It's not. I had to get that out of the way first. Kissing up, yeah. I think the topics were well diversified, and I appreciate it.
I still remember Wilmer McLean's name.
So you learned something.
I learned something.
Yes.
I did.
And you'll be repeating that to someone before the day is out.
I will.
I think since you tutored me before and I know all these answers already, that I should be the top student.
It's funny you should say that, Stephen, because you actually have the lowest score in the class. And the student with the highest grade, a quick round of applause for Dr. Schulman. And thank you all for coming along today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Good fun times.
All right.
Gold Star Classroom is written and produced by Jerry Jaffe. Our producer and engineer is Stephen Gutierrez. Original music composed and produced by Jeff Geddert. Mr. Geddert is also our assistant producer. All commentary and opinions expressed by guests of Gold Star Classroom are meant for entertainment purposes only. For Gold Star Classroom, I'm Jerry Jaffe.